Hello, Jordan.
I just spilled an entire glass of pomegranate juice all over my carpet.
No way.
Yep.
What color is your carpet?
I don't know, white?
That's not ideal.
Not ideal, brother. But I'm on this podcast because
It's every week.
that's what we do every week. And we just got off the mentorship call. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go make some tea. Got some hot tea. And I also had a big, nice, fresh glass of pomegranate juice. I was getting ready. I pushed my laptop screen back so I could see. And then I just heard, and my fucking glass went all over the carpet. So now what I figured would be best is let's just let the pomegranate juice seep into the fibers of the carpet while I do this podcast so that by the time I'm done, I can try and it'll make it better. It'll make it harder. A little bit better
harder,
workout.
not easier.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain that what you want to do in this situation is get it out immediately. But it's not my area of expertise. It's
But
slightly
you know what
out
my
of...
priority is? My priority is this podcast. My priority is the mentorship.
I love that.
My priority is disseminating phenomenal information with my best friend Michael Vacanti. And if that means that my carpet takes a little bit of pomegranate juice, so be it.
Does anyone know? Your wife? Does anyone know that? Or is it just you and me and the listeners that know that there's pomegranate juice on the carpet?
You and I and the listeners are the only ones that know. By the time the listeners hear this, my wife will have known before they know. But as of this moment,
As of right now, it's just us.
just us.
Nice.
Yep. That's it.
Did you pour yourself a new glass of pomegranate juice?
No, because I quickly wanted to get on this podcast. You had texted me saying, "Where are you at?" And I knew that my time was limited. So I said, you know what? Then I'll just I'll hop on without the palm.
With love, after the mentorship Q&A, I was like, you said, I need a little time. I said, cool, 5 minutes. You said 7 minutes. I said, great. And then 9 minutes had gone by and I saw something weird happening on the screen where I thought you were trying to join, but you weren't in. So I just threw you a little, where you at?
Yeah, because I had clicked join
And then spilled
and
the
then I
pomegranate
spilled
juice.
the pomegranate juice.
Such is life sometimes, but I'm very happy with where your priorities lie. We just got off of an absolute banger of a mentorship Q&A.
Oh yeah.
Answering some phenomenal questions. And now here we are to podcast on a Thursday afternoon.
Dude, how are you doing?
I feel much better. I feel much better now.
You have so much schadenfreude for me. You're like, if I have something bad, you're like, you take joy in my grief.
Do you really think that?
I know that.
And by the way, are we calling spilling juice grief? Is that where you're at over there?
Well, that's what's great about it, is it's not a real major problem. It's just enough of a grievance to where like you can find joy in it. It's not like if I got cancer, you wouldn't be happy about it. But
Correct.
like
I think that's obvious. I don't even know that it needs to be stated.
If I spill juice, it's enough of a grievance to where you can be like, I'm in a great mood.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't take any joy in that. None. In fact, I'm actually a little bummed that you're not currently drinking pomegranate juice, because if you made the decision to go get pomegranate juice, I assume that was optimal for what you're trying to accomplish. And now you're just not drinking it for almost no reason. So in my mind, I'm like, if you wanted to drink that, you should be drinking it. So you should go get another glass. So I'm actually a little upset about your grief. I'm actually more upset than you are about your grief. So let's hit pause and go get yourself some pomegranate juice.
You want me to go get it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
Let's see that juice.
Dude, I'm back.
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's a heart health move you're making there, right?
Yes, sir. Oh, it is delicious too. Nice and tart. Real good. Thank you for that. Thank you for all this. Oh, I guess, the amazing David podcast editor just cut that out, made it seem like I just did that in the flash of an eye. But
no, but in all seriousness, I'm very happy that you have your pomegranate juice.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate that.
The only reason why I'm in a good mood, which apparently isn't allowed these days in communist Texas, is that where Jordan resides, is because when we started the mentorship Q&A, I was ill. I was ill.
I forgot about that. I forgot that you were sick.
I had a very intense morning. By the way, I'm completely fine. I was way over. I just blew this out of proportion. But basically, I only had 52 minutes to get my leg day in, and it was 5 lower body exercises and 4 ab exercises, and I got like 90 minutes of volume in 52 minutes, and then came straight here for the mentorship Q&A, and I thought there was a solid 50-50 chance I was going to throw up during the Q&A.
And you didn't.
And now I feel much better.
I'm glad. Did you have anything to settle yourself, or was it just time? You just needed that time?
I think just time. I mean, I did have a muscle milk and a Cliff Bar post-workout kind of into the beginning of the Q&A, but time and water.
What were the 4 ab exercises?
I don't even remember, man. A little activation, a little long lever hollow body to start. Superset it in with
some calisthenics,
walking lunges. I did a reverse crunch with 5-second eccentric.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
A Russian twist, and then a long lever plank with my arms way out there.
Dude, you got some static isometric holds. You've got some flexion. You've got some transverse plane rotation. You've got it all in there. That's some high quality programming.
That's how I like to program the abdominals, you know? Hit them from all angles.
No wonder you have 0 body fat on your abs. You hold 0 body fat there.
I have just spot reduced it over the years. In fact, that's one of our primary philosophies is spot reduction is possible.
It's so funny. Every now and then there will be someone on social media, I'd say like a couple times a year, someone will try and come back and really make a big stink about how like, well, spot reduction actually does work. And they'll like cite this new study, or it's smart people, but it's like, you're just trying to make content. You're just trying to make content that people are going to find. Yeah, you're trying to be contrarian. Yeah. So shut the fuck
up.
But
by the way, I was kidding. I know we didn't laugh, but I was joking when I said that we're in favor of spot fat reduction.
When did you say that?
I don't know, 30 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah, but I thought everyone knew that. Hopefully they know it was a joke.
Most people do, but I feel like it's good to clarify. I want to let everyone in on the joke. Maybe some noobs just stumbled across the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast. They weren't aware of that phenomenon, and maybe they didn't know that you need to simply be in a caloric deficit rather than, train high volume of a body part to lose body fat that is near the muscle that you are training.
HTBPT pod. Welcome to the newbies. Welcome back to everyone who's been listening for a while. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
We appreciate it more than you know.
Where should we take this?
I'll let you run the show.
I don't have a lot of preparation, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Oh, how about ChatGPT 4.0?
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
You
sent me this video. Explain the video that you sent me. Which, by the way, ever since you sent it to me, I've gotten my own videos on it. And because I use ChatGPT almost every day, they just messaged me. They just put up a notification when I logged in yesterday, like, hey, do you want to start using ChatGPT 4.0? It's very cool.
You think the new functionality is very cool?
Well, it's funny. It gave me more ideas, and like, I started getting tutored in Hebrew on it. Like, and it has all different levels. So like I go to a little bit of a higher level, and it's just straight up tutoring me very well in Hebrew. I'm like, this is
the tutoring
wonderful.
Video was cool. The other video I sent you was of the guy who made the two AIs talk to each other.
Yeah.
So the AIs can pick up on video, they can communicate on audio, they can communicate with each other, they can see what's going on in the room and describe it perfectly and accurately and in detail. And just the speed of the jump, meaning from the last ChatGPT update or OpenAI update to this current one, it feels very fast. In terms of there being much more advanced in a very short period of time, coupled with the fact that have you listened to Sam Altman talk much?
No. You don't like him?
I don't know him, but he definitely, puts me on high alert.
Oh, geez.
Listening to some of the stuff he says. And the fact that the company started Open AI and was a nonprofit originally, and Elon invested like 50 million or something, or donated, not invested. And then they made it, they switched the org structure to a corporation. And so there's like then the algorithms weren't open, they were closed, which they are now, right? They're not public information. I don't like such powerful technology being in the hands of very few people, no matter who those people are, right? And so for that, like it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Mike's one fear of AI robot overlords, but really that just stems from fear of death. And so if you get past fear of death, then really you shouldn't be afraid of anything. But I don't like the speed and direction of AI. And I know that there are going to be many, many, many positive, good things that come from this technology. I'm just weary about the asymmetric downside, or said differently, the magnitude of potential risks associated with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes total sense. It was pretty crazy, that the video where the AIs are talking to each other and one of them is like, hey, can you describe the room to me? And this AI is just, it's just describing, yeah, so the lighting is like this, there's a window over here, they're wearing this colored shirt, and then the other one's like, well, is it natural lighting? Is it like, what is it not from and the way they have a full-on conversation and can explain what's going on in the room it's really crazy. The other thing that I think is among the most crazy of it all, they sound like real humans. They talk like real. It's not like this. They don't talk like this, like we would see in the movies. It's not perfect speech. They do have fumbling over words. They do say things like or ah, which is obviously how they're programmed, but they literally talk and they laugh. Even, like, she was like, the AI was like, haha, that's so interesting. That's funny that you say that. Like, that's what a crazy thing to say. I'm like, you sound like a real woman. This is insane. It's really nuts. And then did you see there was recently someone in a school, I forget, there was some guy who worked at a school who tried to frame the principal of the school for saying racist stuff, but it was AI generated voice. And so this guy tried to get the principal fired for saying something racist, when in reality the guy had never said it. He just generated his voice to say this stuff. And they somehow were able to catch him for making it up. But it's crazy. Deepfakes are going to be insane.
Yeah, I don't know what the defense technology against them is or will be, but yes, that's definitely going to be a problem that needs to be solved. I deleted Twitter off my phone like 25 minutes after I sent you those videos. I started going deeper on it. I was like, I don't want to know about this. This is making my life substantially worse.
What's going to be really cool, someone at some point listening to our podcast will be able to put together a stream of you saying, I deleted Twitter off my phone. I deleted Twitter off my phone. I deleted just like over the years.
They already can.
From all the times that you've said it.
100%. 100%. I would love to have everyone publicly state the number of times they tried to quit their vices, because I think we all do it. I think I'm just more transparent about it.
Dude, you're super transparent about it.
Think about cigarette smokers and the number of times that they try and quit cigarettes.
Dude, it's impossible. Yeah, I get it.
That's perfect timing. Only if you're on YouTube. Did you see what Jordan just did there? A little Easter egg. A little Easter egg. Wow. That was fake, by the way. Jordan doesn't use those.
Yeah, I don't smoke real cigarettes.
Do you guys have door-to-door salespeople in Texas?
Yeah, I get them all the time. Someone literally came to our door yesterday and tried to sell us something. And it makes having a Ring camera so nice. Because I don't have to go to the door, and I can just talk through the Ring camera and say, hey, how's it going? And the guy was like, hey, I was just looking at your lawn. And I was just like, no, we're good. Thanks. It's also really nice because if my wife is home alone and someone comes to the door, I can speak through the Ring camera and essentially make them think that I'm home. And so it creates another barrier and a layer of security for my wife if she's here alone with the baby.
That's a great point. I have a Ring here, but I don't use it. I don't have it on my phone. I should get it on my phone.
You don't have it on your phone?
No.
What do you have it on?
I don't check the Ring. I'm old school, Jordan.
You don't check you're not old.
I'm a 90s kid, Jordan. I'm deleting Twitter every other week. I remember like playing outside from dawn till dusk. I'm not a
I was
tech
born in
guy.
91. I'm a 90s kid. You're an 80s kid.
Dude, it's debatable, but I would argue that you don't actually remember the first several years of your life. I know you.
I remember.
But all right, we're both 90s kids. Yeah, I should use it. That's a technology that would be valuable, especially because these door-to-door salesmen, usually like younger kids, that's what they are. I was going to say salespeople. I haven't had any sales boys. That's good. They you're in the middle of something. I'm deep designing client programs. The doorbell rings. I just need to check the ring. That's the bottom line. Because I'm like, oh, who's here? Run upstairs, go answer the door. Like, I don't know what this is. And then it's, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I'm good. How are you? Good. Where'd you get that bush? Like, I don't know. It was here when we moved in. What can I help you with, man? Like, we wanted to do a little assessment of the amount of energy that you're da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, no, we're not interested. He's like, oh, I'm not selling anything. I go, okay.
Still not interested.
I go, no, I was like, continue. He's like, we want to research how much energy this is using, because then instead of paying the city, you could just and it says solar energy on his shirt. He's like, instead of paying the city, you could have these and you could save money and da-da-da-da. And I was like, what would we get? He's like, well, you could get solar panels and that would allow you to save money. So then you wouldn't have to pay them and you'd be saving money. He kept saying save money. I was like, okay, so where would I get the solar panels? And he kind of looked at me and I was like, oh, so you are actually trying to sell me something. He's like, okay, have a good day. See ya. But just the frequency of solicitors, it's just wild that they,
dude,
it's like we get annoyed at cold DMing.
Yeah.
It's cold DMing on steroids. And what I dislike most about it, other than the intrusiveness, is how ineffective it is as a business strategy.
Agreed.
Like,
I agree.
Make content about solar panels and your customers will come to you. Don't go knock on every random door you can, on every neighborhood you can find, and try to hard sell the person. Unless you're a 16-year-old boy who's terrified of talking to girls and you take the job for 3 months so you can like conquer a social fear and like develop that way. That might be the one upside of a job like that. Otherwise, just don't do it.
Dude, it's so funny that you say that. I can't believe I didn't tell you the story. I was in my garage working out last week, and I see this tall, lanky boy walking up my driveway, and he goes, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry." He's like, "No one will let me use their bathroom, and I really need to use the bathroom." And I'm not gonna say no, so I'm like, "Yeah, let's go in." So I bring him inside. And
hang on, my wife, if you, because you knew you could take him, but if you felt like you couldn't take him, would you have? I
wouldn't have let him in. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, we had a whole conversation around it. I was like, if I'm not home, I don't care who it is. You don't let anyone in. Like if they say they need to use the bathroom, absolutely not. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm here and I'm confident in my ability with if something happened. But I walked him inside.
Was he in baggy clothes? Like, were you thinking?
No, he was in like khakis and a button-down shirt.
Okay, but you were like, it's very low probability he has any weapons on him.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at him, like I looked to see if he was printing. Printing is, you can see if their gun is pressing up against their, his shirt was tucked in, so he couldn't have had anything in his waistband. He looked like he was a young boy who had like a summer internship type thing.
Okay.
And let him in, and I walk him in, and I like escort him to the bathroom, and I stand outside the bathroom, and I like hear him dropping the most violent diarrhea you could ever imagine. And I'm like, okay, this poor kid really needed to use the bathroom, and he went to house to house to house, and everyone was saying no. So then he comes out, and I walk him back to the doorway, and as we're in the doorway, he was like, then he immediately goes, "Hey, so who's your internet provider? And I was, he starts trying to sell me on internet. And I was like, man, I'm not interested. He's like, okay. And I walk him back out, lock the door, and I start walking back to the garage. He's like, what are you doing in the gym? I was like, I'm working on muscle ups. He was like, can I watch? I was like, no, man.
No, man.
No, keep going. Then he went to the next house, and he kept going. That was his sale. He was on his sales route.
Of course.
But like he legit had to use the bathroom.
Why else he would be in the middle of a suburban neighborhood with no way of using a bathroom? That's because he was doing door-to-door sales.
Yeah. It was, and then not good. I felt really bad for him, but I just couldn't believe the audacity of then trying to sell me after just desecrating my bathroom.
Why did you feel bad?
He's a young kid. He's out there in the heat working. He has to use the bathroom super bad, and he can't find a bathroom. He's worried about shitting his pants. Like, I felt bad for him.
I think you're a nicer person than I am.
Yeah, probably.
He should have gotten a job at Chick-fil-A. That's what he should have been doing. Instead of doing door-to-door sales bothering people, he could have been providing the greatest customer service of all time. High quality macros and high quality customer service.
Dude, I agree. He probably didn't get the job at Chick-fil-A.
I doubt it.
He probably applied and they said, no, you'd be better at door-to-door sales.
It is, the not wanting to leave is such an interesting tactic. It reminds me of the 6 cold email follow-ups on their 6th follow-up. They're like, it seems like you might not be interested. This is going to be the last email I've sent. It's like, what makes you think I'm not interested? The fact that you sent me 5 emails and I didn't reply, and now this is the 6th one. Yeah, I'm not interested at all.
What makes you think I'm not interested?
But when they don't leave, because this kid also, when it was time and I was closing the door, he tried to spark new conversation. He's like, when'd you guys move in? The conversation already ended. Now you're restarting a new conversation.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. Now that I'm thinking about it, all these other things are popping in my head. This guy showed up at my door, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks ago. And he literally starts, he's got a van, and it's a van covered in pictures of meat, just different cuts of steaks. And he's like, hey, when did you move in? And I was like, we've been here a while. He's like, really? Which we haven't. We've only been here a few months. But I was like, yeah, we've been here a long time. He's like, oh, interesting. Okay. He's like, well, I sell meat, and so he has something to the effect of we're running a huge sale right now. Give you 30% off if you buy these steaks right now. And I was like, no, man. And he got the hint pretty quickly. But it is crazy. I didn't even realize that you don't get that when you live in an apartment building. You don't get solicitors coming to your door. Mm-hmm. Now I understand why. It's so funny because we do walks around my neighborhood. There are a bunch of yards that have signs in it that say no soliciting. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, why did people put that sign up? I don't know. It doesn't look nice, but now I get it. I'm like, don't come. I might get a sign that says no soliciting now. Might be the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. My perception when I see that sign is, oh, that's weird. That doesn't look that nice. They must be a real angry person. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want that sign.
I need that sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish they had a way to do that on Instagram DMs, no soliciting. It's before you DM me, you come up with the sign, this person has a no soliciting. So if this is soliciting and then they report you as soliciting, it's not going to be good for your account. There's a way to mark someone if they're soliciting when you don't want to be solicited.
They should. Let's go, Zuck. Let's get that product feature up. I had an well, actually, no, this wasn't my thought at all. You had an interesting thought.
I had a super hold on.
I had a great idea. No, that was your idea. But
what was it?
Well, so here's where the conversation. I'm actually going to change the framing a little bit here. Basically, there's a lot of discussion in the fitness industry around having a healthy versus an unhealthy relationship with food or exercise. Okay. Which are really good and important conversations. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good content around this and a lot of good ideas being shared.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
And I'm very for it. Something I've noticed is the conversation seems to be disproportionately focused on a group that is a minority that leans in one direction versus a group that is a majority that leans in the other direction. And what I mean by that is so much of conversation about having a bad relationship with food is around people who over restrict food, or someone who has a bad relationship with exercise being someone who over exercises, who never wants to miss a day in the gym, who, even if you're sick, you still get a 2-hour workout in, which again, they're valid and really good points, but they apply to a smaller percentage of the population. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and this is what you brought up about having an unhealthy relationship with exercise. And the first thing that came to your mind, which I thought was amazing, was you said, oh, someone who never exercises, which is brilliant. Because when people who work in the fitness industry don't think of that first and foremost, 99% of the time. They think of people who overexercise. They think of people who over-restrict calories. But really, the most unhealthy relationship with exercise is to be completely sedentary. Mm-hmm. Just like the most unhealthy relationship with food is to constantly eat in excess, or one of the most unhealthy forms of an unhealthy relationship with food. It's interesting. It's food for thought. And maybe it's just so obvious that that's why it doesn't get discussed, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, it is. I think it is obvious. I think one of the reasons probably people talk about it in the fitness industry is because the fitness industry is filled with many people who are that population, who are that tiny segment of the population that actually do have that unhealthy relationship with exercise. So they're often just talking to themselves. It is funny. A lot of people on social media, they'll be like, when a lot of people go on rants, they're like, you know what? You need to do more of this. What they're really saying is, I need to do more of this. And you need to, they're really just talking to themselves. They're pepping themselves up. It's it's a lot of people giving themselves advice and other people watching.
Yeah. Yep. Which is great in that people who are like them can really benefit from that advice. Mm-hmm. I've definitely done that. I mean, I think it's almost somewhat easy to do because you know yourself so well that you can give yourself good advice and give people like you good advice. But interesting nonetheless that the other side of the unhealthy relationship is under discussed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Want to answer some questions?
Oh, dude, you're building a home gym. You want to talk about that?
It's unofficial. I'm considering.
Oh, it's official.
Well, in some capacity, it's official. I'm considering just being completely ridiculous and tearing up all of the carpet in my very nice finished basement where I'm sitting right now and making the entire thing into a home gym.
Dude, rip it up. It will be even nicer once it's ripped up and you have a sick gym in there.
It will be for me. That's for certain.
And everyone who uses it.
Correct. But maybe not everyone who would ever want to be in this house.
Anyone who is ever blessed enough to be in that house.
I mean, if we sell the house, I mean,
dude, do you know when people look at a house and they see there's a home gym in it, it immediately raises the value of the house.
Jordan's completely making things up right now. But that being said, I actually don't care about money on the margins like that. Like, this is a little bit of die with zero Bill Perkins approach to, okay, so you can sell your house for a little bit more versus allocate the amount of value and enjoyment you would get over a 5 or a 7 or a 10 or a 12-year window by doing something completely ridiculous, like taking an entire floor of your house, removing all of the furniture, ripping up all of the carpet, putting down rubber, and just having a rack and dumbbells up to 120s and $1,000 super fat low bench to barbell bench on, and double cable pulleys and sweet mirrors and sick pump lighting. And yeah, it'd be awesome.
Doesn't sound ridiculous at all to me. It sounds like what any rational human being would do in that situation.
Yeah, for us bros, it would be very cool. I like being in a gym setting, so I'm not as motivated to do it.
You
But
mean like a public gym setting?
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not as motivated to do it because I enjoy training in the gym, but it would be really cool and a fun project, I think.
You know what you don't like about the public gym setting though? Is you don't like when shit is on the TV that you don't want to see.
I don't want to see anything on the TV.
That's what I'm
saying. We're there to train. We're not there to get educated about Rachel Maddow's latest take on whatever. We're not there to listen to Bill O'Reilly rant about whatever. I don't know if he's still on the air. We're not even there to catch up on, who won the game on SportsCenter. We're there to train.
Dude. So at your own place, you never even need to worry about that.
That's true. I could just be, that's true.
Just in the dungeon. That's what you could call it. You could call it the dungeon.
We'll see. It's a big project.
Dude.
But could be a lot of life enjoyment and gains in ROI.
Olympia 2027.
I'm never going to be...
Michael Vacanti graces the stage.
That's not actually going to happen, unfortunately. I'm not willing to use anabolics, and I'm saying that as if that's the reason that I wouldn't win. I'm just not that good. I don't have interest in competitive bodybuilding. I have interest in lifting for strength and a little bit of size and leanness and health without the back end of getting contest ready and being judged by strangers on stage. Like that
wearing
part of
a thong.
Wearing a thong. That part of it, I'm just not.
Would you have done that in your prime? Would you have put a thong on in your in 2016?
It wouldn't have been my first choice of things to do in life. It wouldn't have been my first choice. Mostly not because of the thong, but mostly because I don't want to be 5% body fat. Like that's miserable. It really takes a toll on your body.
You walk around at 6% body fat, so it wouldn't be like that big of a difference.
Just a lie. Just a bold-faced lie, and you know it. You know it's not true. I'm a solid 13 right now.
No, you're not. You are not a solid No, there's no way.
12.
Maybe 9.
I'm absolutely not 9. I've been eating intentionally. I'm getting 35 hundo in.
Good. And you're lifting heavy, building muscle.
Yeah. Right now.
All right, here's a question.
Let's go.
Al351A. My partner and I are on 2 very different fitness levels. How do we train together?
You're in the same space doing different things.
Bingo. You don't have to do the same thing.
And I love that question. I love that you guys want to train together. Big Al, 35.
I don't know.
Not Big Al. Why did I say Big Al? When he said very different training levels, I just pictured Al.
Well, I don't know if it's a guy. I don't know if it's a man or a woman.
Allison?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's actually a woman, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry. When you said Al, and then I pictured a guy named Al, and then he said we're on very different levels. I was like, oh, Al's like 268% and pulling like 700, and maybe his partner's just getting started and he wants to.
No.
Ali/Allison. I'm sorry. You do your own workouts in the same space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could be doing some super heavy Bulgarian split squats, and at the bench over, your partner is doing lighter weight incline dumbbell bench press. Yep. You can be there to support each other. You can have conversation. And bond through that, but you don't have to be doing the same workouts.
Also, there's something to be said for it depends on the couple, right? Some couples, they love to do everything together, and it makes their life better, and they like everything they do together. Other couples, they need more space and they need some time apart.
Mm-hmm.
And just because one of you, whether it's you or your partner, might be a very high fitness level, doesn't mean that you need to coach them, especially if you don't want to, right? If that's just going to, because there's a reason why doctors don't operate on their family. It's like your emotions get too, it comes into play too much. It's like there have been many times where I've had, like when my wife got pregnant the first time, she used a coach for like in the first couple of trimesters who specializes in that. And also because like, it not only was it outside of my expertise, but also I think it just made sense for her to work with a woman who had been through this before, and never mind the extra knowledge. I think it just made sense. So if you want to work out together and have coach one another, great. But you can also do it separately, and that's okay too. That for me, especially as when I was really young, like teenager, and maybe even very early 20s, you have this idea of what relationships are supposed to be like. And I think often people believe, yeah, you do everything together. Everything is all the time. It's like, you don't have to be together all the time. Mm-hmm. You can have your own time and own things as well. And if you do want to work out together, awesome. But it doesn't, you don't have to do everything together. Like you can have time to yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Big Al. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I'd probably time travel.
Now, the follow-up question to time travel is, are you there as an observer without having any impact on what happens? Or if you time travel back, are you interacting with the people back then, and is it impacting the subsequent future?
I don't know.
Well, you got to pick one because it's consequential. If you go back and you can interact with people and you can affect the future, that's a real commitment.
Usually with time travel, you can't interact with the people back then for that exact reason.
What do you mean usually? Just like in movies?
Yeah.
Or
in works of fiction. It also it gets too confusing for me, because then I don't understand. There's like multiple versions of reality.
Yeah. Which there are, parallel universes where just a slightly different decision was made and everything changed as a result of it,
Some argue that, or there are fictional parallel universes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
I'm not saying definitively there are other.
The way you said, but you go, well, as if you were to say like, well, you do need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. You were like, there are parallel universes. I was like, oh.
Sort of like how you were like, well, generally when you time travel.
Fiction.
You can't. Yeah. Okay.
What superpower would you want, Jordan?
Wait. One more thing about time travel. Where would be the first time/place that you go?
I don't know.
Future or past?
Past.
Cool.
What superpower would you want?
Oh, man. It's really tough.
You know what? I don't think I'd want any superpower, but you go ahead.
Oh, come on. That's not the question. You don't have to. You gotta go. I don't want one. I just want to be me. But I get it. Time travel. I think if I could choose one, I would be able to speak any language at any point in time. I could just, any language, I could speak it.
We're there.
No, we're not there, and I can't do that.
But we're there.
What does that mean? We're there.
Didn't I send you the new ChatGPT 4 whatever does that?
No, but I don't want ChatGPT to do it. I want me to do it.
Well, ChatGPT is saying, sorry, human, I'm going to do this and you're not. You don't get superpowers.
The question is about if you could have a superpower.
Cool. You can speak any language.
Any language.
Cool.
Any language. Could you just imagine me coming out and just like speaking Punjabi or Mandarin just like perfectly?
I can imagine that.
Man, I would love that.
There was like this translation software is so wild. You say, hey, ChatGPT bot, if I'm going to speak in English and this person is going to speak in Spanish, please translate anything you hear in Spanish to English, anything you hear in English to Spanish, and it does it perfectly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to do that on my own. Or flight. I'd like to fly.
Flight's cool too.
Either one of those. Flight would be super cool. Just to, at any point be like, you know what, I'm out. Just fly away. See ya.
At a very fast fly at like 800 miles an hour?
I'd like to be able to control it. Like if I wanted to go a nice 30, I could. But if I really...
there's all these cars on the highway like passing Jordan, and he's just doing a cool 30. He's just 20 feet in the air. Can you imagine?
Like, I'd like to be able to.
Your superpower requests are so reasonable and so like chill. Like, I want to be able
What do
to,
you mean?
I just mean it's like asking this greedy kid what he wants for Christmas, and he wants $1 million, and you're like, I just want a new soccer ball. And that's all you want. It's very sweet. Speak any language, fly, but I'm fine going 30 miles an hour. It'd just be cool to be up there.
It would be so cool. But I mean, I would also like to go super fast, but I'm just thinking, to enjoy the flight. I don't need to be there instantly. That's like teleportation. I just want to be able to enjoy the flight. And like, if I want to like fly to Chick-fil-A real quick for the family, I could just, all right, yeah, I'll be back in 12 minutes. Boom, psh, hop over the town, fly, land, boom, come right back.
How long does it currently take you to get Chick-fil-A? Like, a lot of people are probably listening and they're like, it takes about 12 minutes for me to drive there, pick it up, and come back now.
It's not even about the convenience or the speed for me. It's, I don't know, it's like the enjoyment of flight.
Cool.
You know what I mean? It would also be great, like, if I wanted to fly across the world at 800 miles an hour, I wouldn't have to buy an airplane ticket and wait in TSA and da-da-da-da. But mainly just the day-to-day stuff, quick flights around town.
He's a Mandarin-speaking flyer. It's just... What else we got?
Oh, I think you'll like this one, because your dad is super involved. Just started playing pickleball, and I'm obsessed. What are your thoughts on the sport?
I think that anything that gets people active, outdoors, off their phone, moving, enjoying, playing, in a flow state, in a hyper-focused state, if it's competitive and, it's hard to be thinking about your problems when you're locked in on this ball flying back and forth. I think that is a net good thing. And the fact that it's, smaller movements, a 70-year-old obviously can perform in pickleball much more easily and at much less risk of injury than they can at the sport of tennis. I think overall it's a great and wonderful thing. I don't play much myself, and I'm not very good, and I don't love doing things that I'm not. Well, I play like someone who's a decent athlete who's played 4 times in his life.
Okay. Is your dad really good?
He's an athlete who's played much more than me. Yeah, he's good. My dad's good.
You get upset when you lose. You don't like losing.
I don't like losing. I don't like losing in classic traditional like pickup basketball. I'll like get very frustrated and want to fight someone.
Oh, I know. Did we tell the story about
probably
like when I first started with Gary?
Again.
I'll never forget this. This is crazy. So, as some context, I grew up in a house where if I spoke poorly, like rudely to one of my parents, I was in deep shit. Like, it was
same.
It was bad. No, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just giving context to my reaction.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Did you ever have any friends when you were growing up who, like, when they spoke to their parents, your eyes would get wide? Like, you can talk like that to your mom? You ever have a friend like that?
Not really, but I've seen content about it, about like that joke.
My friend David, like one of my best friends ever, the Russian wrestler, he would speak, and I think it's his parents they came from Russia in their like 20s and 30s. I don't know, maybe just a difference in culture, but the way he would speak to them, me, my buddy Eli, my buddy Tucker would all listen to David, how he would speak to his parents. We'd be like, oh my God, like that is crazy that you speak to them that way. Like, that's nuts. And like, I would get nervous like hearing it. And so I had just started coaching Gary. Within what? Was it like within a month?
For sure, because we were in overlap. I was onboarding you.
Yeah, so it was within the first month, and Gary and you and me and Gary's cousin are playing a game of pickup basketball, and then Gary and we're shoeless, we're all barefoot on this court, and so Gary's cousin ends up being like, "Hey, I'm out." Like his feet were wrecked.
It was me and Jordan against Gary and his cousin.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So then Gary's cousin leaves. He's like his feet get wrecked, and like playing barefoot on a basketball court really messes up your feet. And so then now it's Gary versus Mike and I. And keep in mind, like I am very relaxed with this type of. If it's a game that I am not invested in, I don't really care about the outcome very much. If it was something like wrestling or jiu-jitsu, like yeah, I would have been really upset. But like basketball, I'm not a basketball player. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm largely with you there. Neither you or I are any good at basketball.
Correct. And Gary loves basketball, and he's good at basketball. Like Gary is very, very good at it.
Yeah, but it's still, but it's still 2-on-1. Like I almost don't even want to, like, we'll publish this, but I really don't feel good about publishing this.
Gary beats both of us.
2-on-1 in basketball.
2-on-1. Gary beat, and he's draining shots like from out wide. Like he's not running drives. He's not driving. He was driving and like hitting it.
Dude, that game got physical. At least for Gary and I. Jordan was not putting his body on the line.
I wasn't about to freaking like body check Gary like 3 weeks into coaching him. Like, no way. I was like, yeah, you score. Go ahead, sir. Like, I'm not touching you, man.
Yeah, and I was coming off of 2 years of coaching him. So there's a difference in relationship dynamic too.
Yeah. So we lose. And the moment that Gary scores the winning point, Mike just not a word, storms off the court, goes over to the pool house, and slams the door as you walk in, like slams it. And I'm in that back to watching David speak to his parents. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, oh, Gary's about to get really pissed at Mike. And I look at Gary, and Gary just smiles and goes, I respect it. He's upset. He doesn't like to lose. Like Gary really enjoyed that you were so upset. He obviously liked winning more than anything, but he was actually happy to see you upset that you lost. And I was like, man, what did I get myself into? This is great.
Yeah. I've brought this up to you. I know. I don't know how much publicly, but it's weird. The things that people compete over, like high level, lots of dudes, like screw with their own mental health over, like having more followers, making more money, like stuff that people really compete on at a high level. I mean, you don't care. I mean, maybe 10 years ago there was a piece of me that did, but I've completely divorced myself from it. Whereas if we're in a physical competition that doesn't mean anything, like literally means nothing, but it's a physical competition of some kind, I don't care what it is. Like I'm going to get really upset if I lose. And it's not good. I wish I wasn't that way, but
that's so funny. Just like a completely meaningless pickup game. Completely. You get really intense about it. Yeah.
And it makes me not want to play those games because I almost lose. Yeah. Because I almost don't have control over my emotions in those situations.
What about when you play your annual golf tournament? Like because you've won 2 years in a row. What if you ended up losing? Would that like make you not want to go?
No. Because that's like all a bunch of my really good friends that I grew up with. It's an annual thing. It's more about like hanging out, seeing each other. It's competitive, but it's more like kind of trash talking, build up to it. No. And golf's just different. Maybe there's something about it being physical versus non-physical that increases the test levels, but no, that's not.
Got it.
All right, let's fire up another one.
All right, here's one. How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast. What are your thoughts on knowing when it's right to rent versus buy a home?
Dave Ramsey. By the way, I've been getting a lot of Dave Ramsey content, and I love that. And it's for sure just confirmation bias that makes me enjoy listening to it because I'm like, yep, agreed. That's 100% right.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. You want me to start?
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to start.
When to rent or buy a home? The first thing that I would say is that you definitely should not buy a home if you're only planning on living in it for a very short period of time, because there are time costs associated with buying the house, getting moved in, etc. And there are financial costs associated with selling the home. So you're going to end up paying like, I don't know, I've actually never sold a property, but 5 to 6% in closing costs. Depends what state you're in, depends where you are, but there are costs associated with buying and selling. And so
that's so stupid. If you own the land and you own the house, you now have to pay.
Well, you're paying both the buyer and seller's real estate agents, and they make the process
Why?
go way smooth. Well, because otherwise they're not going to work if no one pays them.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the fees. Oh, so the buyer doesn't have to pay those fees. It's only the seller that pays those fees.
Yes. Seller pays for both the buyer and seller's agents.
Interesting.
And so that's the number one thing. And I would say plan on being in the house for at least 7 years. That's a little more conservative. Other people might say at least 5 years. But that's the number one thing. When you should rent versus buy. So if you're planning on moving frequently, if you want more flexibility, if your time is very valuable to you and you don't want to have this random project where, something broke, or you don't want the basement got flooded, or when you're a homeowner, you end up having responsibilities associated with upkeep of the home. Whereas if you're renting, those responsibilities are going to fall on the landlord. So that's something to keep in mind. Like if you're starting your online fitness business career and you're in complete grind mode, it would make more sense to be renting because you want to have every waking hour dedicated towards working, or as much time as possible. Do you have any thoughts on rent versus buy? We can kind of go back and forth.
I have a lot
of
thoughts on rent versus buy.
Okay.
I mean, so one thing that I think is important to keep in mind, and my wife and I have had many conversations about this. For example, right now, obviously we're not only buying, we're building a house, and we reduced the budget by 50%, and I've been very staunch on that. This is the budget. We're not going over it. And she's like, okay, well, these are some of the overages. I was like, no, we're not going over.
Why did you reduce the budget by 50%? And when? Like, because presumably you had a budget and then it got reduced.
I had a budget. And this was the initial budget. And then the architect we were working with kept adding more. And it almost just creeped up like very slowly, one bit at a time. And I kept being like, and obviously, like, as he's building it up, he's not saying, hey, this is what the cost is going to be. He's just like, oh, and we're going to add this, and we're going to add this, and we're going to add this. So I'm looking at this house. It's like, this house looks freaking amazing. Yeah, of course, let's add that. Of course, let's add that. And then it's like, hey, where are we at? And it's double what it was. And this took many months to get here.
And is he working on a flat fee or on a percentage of the home?
He was working on a percentage of the home, which is, for whatever it's worth, we fired this guy. We had some issues with him, but the guy we're working with now is fantastic. But yeah, it was a process over time of adding more, less focus on the price, more focus on just how great the house is going to be. And eventually I just got to a point where I was like, this is completely outrageous. I don't need this much. I don't want to be spending this much on mortgage. None of that. So I was like, I called him. I was like, we're reducing it by 50%. Whatever you need to do to get this down 50%. That's what we're doing. Period. End of story. He was not happy about it, but I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm very glad I made that decision. So now we're sticking to it. It's a much more appropriate build and budget. But every now and then my wife is like, hey, so here's some overages. And her argument will be, what this does though, is this brings up the value of the house. And this is a very common thing that I've heard. Oh, well, this will increase the value of your home. And I'll say, you realize that means nothing for how much money we actually have, right? Like if we decide to sell it, yes, then that could potentially allow us to sell it for a little bit more. But in the meantime, we're not seeing anything on that money. And so it's very easy to convince yourself, oh, this will increase the value. But in terms of how much money is in your bank account and what you can spend, and whether it's if you're building a business and you're trying to, if you need money to run advertisements or to run prizes or whatever, you don't have that money. It doesn't matter that
employees, pay a developer.
Yeah, pay whatever. Pay for your insurance. Margot in the mentorship brought up, even you're self-employed, you have to pay for your own insurance. We spoke about that today in the Q&A. Best insurances. Just because it's increasing the value of your home doesn't mean that it's giving you more money. In fact, you're losing money. You are actively losing money unless you decide to sell the house, in which case that's a whole separate process, which can be a real bitch. So I think, especially if you're in that building grinding phase, it makes a lot more sense to rent, have someone else take care of all of the stuff, like you take care of like all of the fixings and all the things around the house, and take all the extra money that you have, rather than putting it into a down payment, rather than putting it into a mortgage. I would either put that into getting help for your business, whether that's from a videographer, whether that's from a video editor, whether that's from a personal assistant, maybe that, well, whether that's from running advertisements, whether that's from, like, there's so many things you can do, or put that money into a high interest savings account, put that money into the stock market. I mean, there are so many things you can do to help your money work for you and to help build your business so that eventually money won't be an issue. And then you can buy a house that will better suit you. But taking a lot of money, putting a huge down payment on a house, and then having mortgage payments on top of it takes away from what you can then put into your business.
Yes.
So
if you're having, if you're having cash flow issues, don't put all of your cash into a down payment.
Yeah, it's very weird. People often talk about homes as this amazing asset, and it's like it's only a monetary asset if you sell it. Otherwise, you get no money from it.
So we're kind of talking about two different things. We're talking about liquidity versus solvency. And but you're absolutely right, because most people do have cash flow issues. And so if your cash is tied up in your house, you can't use it. Your net worth is increasing, assuming the value of the house stays the same. We'll just say over a 10-year window, and every mortgage payment you make, the percentage that's going into the principal of the house is increasing your equity stake in the house. So it builds up and builds up and builds up over time. So when you do sell it, you're going to end up getting that money back. But on a cash flow basis, you don't have that money until you sell the house. And so you can't do anything with it. So you're absolutely right that if you're somewhat strapped for cash, don't put all of your cash into it.
Yes. And then I think one thing people don't take into consideration when you own the house, when people think about getting all the things fixed, I don't know, something breaks, the landlord has to fix it. They don't take into account how much that costs and how much those things add up over time. So maybe you own the house for 10 years, you end up selling it. Maybe you make a little bit more than you bought it for, but net, it might be breaking even based on how much you spent fixing shit up and like how much went into the house. Like your sump pump goes, generator goes, whatever happens, like you might actually end up be breaking closer to even than making more money. I really don't think that most people understand this.
I hear that. So it used to be 10 years ago, let's say, people were so pro your primary residence as an asset, as a money-making asset for you. And now we're getting more of the pro renter crowd in the content creation, like personal finance space. It's still pretty black and white to me that if you're going to be in the same area for an extended period of time, owning a house is a way better deal than renting. Like over a 30-year window, you're going to end up with the entire cost of the house in equity in the house compared to none of it if you're renting.
Yeah. And for 30 years.
And over a 30-year window, all of your repair, because the longer every month of your mortgage, every mortgage payment, each payment is split between principal, which goes towards the house, and interest. And every month, slightly more is going towards principal and slightly less is going towards interest. So later in the mortgage, a higher percentage of each payment is essentially money that you're going to get back when you sell the house. Mm-hmm. And so if we're comparing being there for 6 years versus 30 years, like there's just no way that the upkeep and repairs costs associated with the house over a 30-year window are equal to the value of the house at the end of 30 years. Unless you just
that makes completely sense.
Which is just because it's this. I see both sides. The whole like, you need to own a house. It's a great asset. And like, there's this sense of pride and like, you've quote unquote made it if you own a house, and you're poor. You're like a loser if you rent. Like, that mindset is completely incorrect. And I think fewer people have that these days than they used to. But I think the pendulum swung a little too far to like these hyper rich finance gurus talking about how they're going to rent forever and how that's a better financial deal. Maybe it's a better deal for their lifestyle if they want hyper flexibility, if they like moving around a lot, if they really value their time and they don't want to be doing any upkeep, if they, for whatever reasons. But for like the average median, like 50th percentile in net worth person in the West, like a paid off mortgage is going to be a substantial portion of your net worth.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
So don't rush into it. And we didn't even talk about pricing, but if you've been listening to this for a while, you know my thoughts around people overextending themselves, consumerism, materialism, people spending more than they have to impress other people. Like, it's all just nonsense. It's going to set you up for a lifetime of being trapped versus working hard, saving as much as possible, creating that excess in cash and net worth, which is going to give you future freedom and flexibility.
Yes, sir.
Good episode. Thank you very much for listening to the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast, where every week we spend the whole time talking about how to become a personal trainer, like we did
every second
of every episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a 5-star review, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening. It helps a lot. Smash that YouTube like button. We appreciate you. Every Tuesday. See you next week.
See ya.